If you're like me and you love seeing more Kathryn Hahn on your TV screens, well, let me tell you, there's so much of her to come in the next few months because she's been really, really busy. I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor here at Gold Derby, and I am with the Emmy nominee, Kathryn Hahn. Kathryn, what's it like to be so in demand? You're in a lot of projects coming up.
I'm very excited about the two things that are about to be released. The first is I Know This Much Is True, which is coming to HBO in May. That's starring the incredible and kind Mark Ruffalo, directed by Derek C. in France, it's an adaptation of the book by Wally Lamb. And the second is it's called Central Park, and it's a completely different genre. It's an animated series created for Apple Television, created by Lauren Bouchard, who did Bob's Burgers, and that's a series that is a musical, and that's so something new, completely new and different, and that's also co-created by Josh Gad, and it's starring some incredible voices.
Yeah. It is. I've seen a bit of it, and I can say that it is so entertaining. And you also were in, obviously, Mrs. Fletcher, which we'll talk about a little later. That was one of my favourite things in the last few months. And you were also obviously finishing up with Transparent with their fantastic Musicale finale. So I don't know how the hell we're going to get through all this in such a short period, but we'll do our best, okay? We'll do our best. So first of all, I Know This Much Is True. I've seen some of it, and we can't really give away too much because it's not out yet. But it's pretty heavy stuff. And without giving too much away, the series explores some very tragic themes that Mark Ruffalo, and he's playing the twin brothers. And some of that heavy lifting is on your shoulders as the ex-wife. How difficult was it to prepare for such an emotionally challenging role like that?
Well, I hadn't read the novel when I got the call about this project. I had to meet with the director, was not, with Derek, and so I kind of devoured the adaptation and the novel in about a week's time, which was significant. It's a pretty significant novel, so there's a lot of material to get through. But so by the time I met Derek, I felt such a connection to Dessa and to this material that for the first time, I think in my creative life, I really did feel weirdly that I was kind of meeting him as Dessa. And I never really felt that before. I just said she kind of had really filtered through. And he's such an incredible actor's director, Derek. And so the process, there wasn't a ton of rehearsal process because everybody was all over the world at that point before we had started. And Derek he's not like a micromanager with actors. And he really just is such an incredible listener that we were just really able to kind of arrive there kind of fully formed. And he just trusted us. So you have to answer your question. It wasn't like precious. It was just kind of like revealed, if that makes any sense. It was really, really special how it happened. I give a lot of credit to Derek and to Mark.
Well, speaking of Mark, it's such a brilliant cast. You've got people like Melissa Leo and Rosie O'Donnell and Archie Punjabi, Imogen Poots, Juliette Lewis. Really, we could spend all day just talking about the ensemble, but Mark Ruffalo brings it together as the leading man. What's the best way to describe working alongside him, who is really, really incredible in this?
Yeah, you're right. This entire cast is so incredible. But Mark as the number one on the call sheet was just a dream working with him. He is so extraordinary in this part. I had heard such amazing things about him walking into this, and he did not disappoint. He's just a magnificent listener. He's so wide open. He's just just a dream collaborator. He just cares so much about what you bring to the table. He's so humble, and he's just a decent and kind person. And he's just an incredible actor. His work ethic is incredible. Like, you just don't want, he's what you want as your number one on a call sheet, because it just like filters down. He's just a good, decent egg.
Yeah. So apart from working with him and working with Derek Cianfrance, what would you say would be the number one highlight for you as an actor? Looking back over your career, you've had some really amazing and challenging roles, but I would assume this would be one of the most challenging you've done, given the topic or the subject matter. But what was the highlight in terms of what you had to stretch as a performer to kind of make this work?
For this part? Or for any part?
This part.
I think it was, there were so many. I mean, this was a really precious experience for me. When Derek and Mark and I were in the bubble, and I hopped in and out of this a lot, and they made it incredibly welcoming for me every time I jumped back into it. I think there was a moment, there were so many, but there was the funeral scene. There's a funeral in it this was shot on film. And Derek had set up and it's a very teeny scene, but Derek had set up an entire funeral with an actual priest and a choir and a packed church. And we were not allowed in the church until it happened. And the whole scene was set up. It was just like an actor's dream. Like, I want to cry thinking about it, just for this teeny little piece of this project. That we were held outside the church, and then when it was time to shoot, she had 3 cameras, and when it was time to shoot it, we were allowed to walk in, and it was a 40-minute take, and it was just one of those experiences that I will never forget as long as I live as an actor. And that's an experience that I will hold to my heart. That care. It was just so actor forward, this process, in a way, and it just that kind of respect. It was like performance first over anything. That it's so rare and so appreciated, and I think I'll just never forget that. Just being able to be a part of it.
Yeah, you're right. That scene was very short, but it was so impactful. And now I kind of understand why. Yeah, it's good to know. I'm going to pivot a little now, given that we will eventually run out of time. And you've been on plenty of series. Most actors who do series work always talk about how bittersweet it is to finish up. Was it bittersweet to say goodbye to Transparent after all these years?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. I mean, Transparent, I would say it was bittersweet is the perfect word, because it was a joyful way to end it. And I think it was important for Jill and for their sister Faith to have it be that the musical, because it really it was a celebration. So the shooting of it and the making of it was very, very joyful. Like, it didn't feel like it didn't end on a down note. So that was helpful for sure. And but yes, of course, bittersweet, because I love those people, and that series meant so much to so many people for so long, and really changed the cultural landscape, I think, when it first came about, and woke a lot of people up, and it was very important in terms of like changing conversation. And really proud to have been a part of it.
Yeah, and obviously that show was what you were nominated for a few years ago at the Emmys as supporting actress. It was a really exciting nomination to see you and a bunch of the other people from that show nominated. Can you take us back to the day that you were nominated for that. Do you remember, like, how were you feeling? Like, were you, like, just extremely excited? What does it mean to you to be nominated by the industry like that?
Oh, but I'd never been nominated for anything before. It was absolutely crazy. I was I was gobsmacked. I had no idea it was the craziest feeling. I had been just driving. There was no way in the world I would have ever considered it or conceived it. And I was just absolutely gobsmacked into total and utter silence. It was just like, it was like it happened. And then I just continued to the grocery store because I was like, is this like, it was so it was the greatest, craziest honor. And again, like very, very humbling. And it was like one of the most fun nights of, my hubby in my life. Yeah. And it was just, it was crazy. And also just really great for everybody in the show. So yeah, it was and to be for that part too, which had meant a lot to me. And I just love the rabbi so much. And the woman that I had worked with, the actual Rabbi Susan Goldberg, who would become a dear friend. And so it was very special for us to share, and all of it. A highlight.
I love the rabbi character too. I don't know what it is about the rabbi on that show, but I really loved her. I kind of miss her for some reason. Like, there's such a warmth to her, right? Like is that what you were going for?
I think she just was. Yeah. I mean, I think maybe also in the context of everybody in that world too, she just kind of landed that way. And then also if you could meet this woman who I had worked with, Susan, she's a very warm presence and a warm human. And so, yes, I certainly wasn't, that was not like what I was necessarily going for, was that word, but she is a good, warm listener, I would say. Yeah, for sure. She's a listener.
Yeah. What the finale reminded me of was how you've got some like really good singing chops there. Like I forget that about you. And you get to do that on Central Park, which people haven't seen yet, but it's such a great show. The music, the songs on that show are brilliant.
Aren't they amazing? Really good singer.
They're so good. Like people will be very surprised. Yeah, so why did you take on that? It's so different to a lot of your other work. Like, what made you decide to do that?
I think that's exactly why, Rob, is because it's so different than anything else. And I think I didn't even quite know what the songs were going to be before I took it on. I took it on because of Lauren. I took it on because of Lauren and because of Josh and because of the rest of the cast. I mean, I heard Leslie Odom Jr. and I sent, I heard David and Kristen and Stanley Tucci. I mean, I was like, this cast was bananas. And then I heard the songwriters, and then that it was going to be a musical. And I was like, well, this is crazy, of course. And but I had not heard the music. And in an animated show, it's all piecemeal. You're never in the room with anybody. You have no idea like what it's going to sound like. And then I went in to record some songs, and I was like, holy crap, this is really good music. And I will just like caveat, I would just say I'm really good at karaoke. I'm not like, I would never consider myself like a professional singer but I love singing. But these guys are like, professional. And so I always felt like Peter Sellers in Being There. I was like, which one of these people is not like the other? Like, it's like, what am I doing in this company? This is like absolutely crazy. But I was able to finally hear or see a couple of the episodes, and the music is like, it's so unforgettable. So anyway, I couldn't be more proud to be a part of it. Yeah, it's really, really good. So yeah, I'm very excited for people to see it.
Yeah, me too. So now finally touching on Mrs. Fletcher, which I devoured in a day. My wife and I sat on the couch and just watched the whole thing. And then it was over and I was like, I want more, and I don't think there will be more, but it's a shame because it's a really, really good show. And it's based on a novel by one of my favorite writers, Tom Perrotta. So what drew you to taking on the role? Because that's another departure for you.
Yes, I was very intrigued by Mrs. Fletcher back when I read the book. I'm also a huge fan of Tom Perrotta's work as well, and especially about his curiosity about women. And I loved Eve, and the fact that there was something very interesting that he was about his curiosity of this woman at this time of her life. And that it was a two-pronged coming-of-age story, that it was about, that it was not just, that it was like an inverse coming-of-age story, that it was like not just Eve's coming-of-age, but it's also her son's, and kind of the fulcrum being maybe through the lens of internet porn, but not really, that's kind of like the launching pad, but it's not really about that. Like, there was something very interesting about well, I should say today it's all topsy-turvy, but back when that was happening, it was like, you know, thoughts of consent and, you know, intimacy and all the vulnerability and all the things that were wrapped up in, you know, for her, it was like shame and pleasure and just like identity and getting what you want and all these, anyway, it was like so many there's so many things wrapped up that I found very interesting. And I you know, it was important that it be all women directors, especially because it was written by Tom, and it was like he was really on board with that. And he was such an incredible collaborator and very, very open. It was like we had a really great kind of push-pull the whole time, with trying to figure her out in a great way. Yeah, it was a real juicy, great experience of trying to figure her out. And I agree with you. Like, I definitely at the end of it, I was like unsatisfied. And I think that was a great way to maybe a perfect way for it to end, for sure.
Yeah.
I kept wanting to see them at the kitchen table the next morning, but maybe that's exactly.
Yeah, we just have to imagine it. But I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss the interplay between your character Eve and Julian, played by O&T. I love that. Like, it's so unusual.
Good. I know,
so
and
good,
he's so good. Yeah, he's so good. The whole cast everybody in that show is so fantastic, and yeah, the directing. I'm incredibly proud of what we made in that show, and I think it also. I'm very satisfied with the dissatisfaction of it too, of the like, you know what I mean? That it's like, that it doesn't always like land in like a settled chord. So I was very kind of satisfied with that feeling. But yeah, everybody, Katie Kershaw, I thought was fantastic. Jen Richards, like the whole cast. Mm-hmm. And and Tom too. Digging in deep. Yeah, it was a real journey together to make that show, and I could not be more proud. Yeah.
Well, we have a lot to look forward to. Everybody, make sure you tune into I Know This Much Is True, and Central Park is coming up in May, and then you've got WandaVision, I think, in December. So that's again a new departure. You're just really mixing it up, and I really respect that. That's pretty cool. But Kathryn, thanks so much for your time. So I really, really enjoyed chatting with you.
Oh, such a pleasure. Get yourself some caffeine. That's really good. Really, very nice to meet. Very, very nice to meet you. Thanks for your time.
No worries. And everybody go to goldderby.com right now. Make your predictions and click subscribe to watch all of our great chats with contenders just like Kathryn.